from the Austin Nature and Science Center. Thanks for joining me for a Wild Wednesday video. For this video, we're going to talk about some really interesting amphibians that live in the rainforests of Central and South America. Can you think of an animal that is an amphibian? Amphibians are almost always slimy, and they usually go through a really big change from one life stage to the next. Maybe you thought of a frog. We're going to talk about poison dart frogs today. There are many species of poison dart frogs, and they can be pretty different from each other. For example, some of them are more toxic than a king cobra, and some are hardly poisonous at all. Have you ever heard the word toxic before? Let's talk a little more about that. So if something is toxic, that means that there's something in its body that would make animals sick. Sometimes that means they use it for protection, and other times that means they use it to hunt. So why are these called poison dart frogs and not venom dart frogs? Because they're both kinds of toxicity. We're going to look at some pictures of poisonous creatures and some pictures of venomous creatures, and I want you to think about how they're different from each other. So these are hollyberries. This is stinging nettle. This is a pufferfish. This is a rattlesnake. And these are mushrooms called death caps. So the pufferfish, the hollyberries, and the mushrooms are all poisonous, and the rattlesnake and the stinging nettle are venomous. Can you think of some things that make these different? If something is poisonous, that usually means that it has to be ingested or eaten in order to make an animal sick. So for example, if these are poisonous berries and our raccoon eats them, he's not going to feel very well after that. But if something is venomous, that means that it has to inject its toxin to get something sick. So you can think about a snake bite from a venomous snake as a way to inject toxin, or a wasp sting. But there are also venomous plants like this stinging nettle, and if you were to walk through it, it would scratch you, and you might not even feel it at first, but you will end up really itchy, like this coyote. So now that we know a little bit more about toxicity and poison versus venom, let's get back to the start of the show, the poison dart frogs. So this kind of animal, poison dart frogs, are so interesting to me because they are not born with the poison that they carry throughout their adult lives. They actually get their poison from their diet, which is confusing because if their diet is poisonous, wouldn't it be bad for them? So there's a lot of complicated science behind how this works, and scientists are still trying to figure it out exactly, but they know that it has to do with their diet because these frogs, when they're raised in captivity, don't become poisonous. So it has to do with their diet in the wild. But we are going to take some time to look at a few species more specifically to learn a bit more about them. So first up is the dying dart frog. So this species is one of the largest poison dart frogs at about 2 inches long, which is about the same size as my pinky. This is about 2 inches long, and you heard me right that is one of the largest species. These frogs are just not very big. These are golden poison dart frogs, and they are one of the most toxic animals on the entire planet. Their diet is mostly made up of 1 or 2 ant species, which might help explain how their toxin is so concentrated because they only eat 1 or 2 different kinds of food. This species of especially cute frog is called the strawberry poison dart frog. Can you see why they have that name? I think that the speckles on their back kind of look like strawberry seeds. In this species, both the male and female are really good parents. The male will guard an area if there are tadpoles there, while the female will actually lay unfertilized eggs for them to eat. And this is especially interesting because when they eat those eggs, they are having some of the poison passed to them, and they become poisonous at a really young age, and it helps them be protected from predators. This species of poison dart frog is called the harlequin poison frogs, and they're really interesting because if you just saw these frogs, you might not imagine that they're the same species. But this species in particular has a ton of variation in color. So you can see one of them is more green, one is more yellow, and the other one has like a purpley blue color going on. And there are like 60 color morphs of this one species, which I just think is so interesting. This species is called the variable frog, but they're also called thumbnail frogs because their entire body could fit on someone's thumbnail, which I think makes them extraordinarily cute in addition to their really cute coloring. This is the last specific species of frog we're going to look at today, and they are the yellow-banded poison dart frogs. The patterns on their body are so distinct, and the yellow sections stand out so much against the black sections, and the black sections stand out so much against the yellow sections. Did you notice how most of the frogs we looked at had really, really bright coloring on their body? Do you think that that has a purpose? I think that they have those bright colors on their body to serve as a warning, to tell other animals, hey, I'm poisonous. Look out. You don't want to eat me because I'll make you really sick. The warning messages on a frog's body are called aposematic coloration. It's a way that they send a message that they're dangerous to other animals. This is actually a pretty common thing that happens in nature, where animals or plants even will have really, really bright colors, and that serves as a way to remind other animals like, oh, I ate that and I got sick. I better not do that again. So this is another way that they can protect themselves. So in addition to having the poison, they also have these bright colors that say, hey, don't eat me. It won't be a good time, I promise. Thank you for joining me to learn a little bit more about poison dart frogs today. If you really liked this video and you thought these animals were interesting, guess what? There are so many more species than we talked about today. So there's a lot more learning you could do on your own if you're interested. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Head over to our Facebook page to see more awesome daily videos posted.